This is DMG, and this is my friend
DM Scotty.
And together we are quest givers, and this video is all about how to start an RPG campaign.
Ah, yes.
If you're looking for adventure, excitement, thrills, and a dice-rolling good time, sit back and enjoy the next few minutes with quest givers DM Scotty and DMG. They're taking you on an epic journey through the role-playing experience every Friday. Learn the ways of the Game Master, the Dungeon Master, and delve into the minds of the players. Grab the modules each month to support the channel and play the campaign with your gaming group. You're sure to get hooked on adventure.
So if you're interested in following this channel, you can subscribe to our email newsletter on questgivers.com. You can also purchase the modules and support our Kickstarter on September the 1st. We've been kicking this can around for a while, and yeah, it's been a wild ride, hasn't it, Scotty?
Definitely has, yeah, it definitely has been a wild ride. We had pitched the idea to each other, and we really liked the idea of creating adventures together, so we thought that'd be a lot of fun to share with you guys and show you what we're coming up with, which I'm really proud of what we're coming up with and what we're creating.
There's just so much cool stuff. You know, when you get two DM heads together and you cram them into a box, they start to bubble up all kinds of weird and wonderful things. And yeah, it's not just the usual crazy stuff. There's just some really, really good world building. And I mean, you know, I'm blowing our own trumpet here, but you know, I'm just blown away by what's been coming out of our own brains. You know, I didn't think this kind of stuff would come out of my brain.
I totally agree, because this is some great DM advice, actually, because I believe that it's really good to have a sounding board for someone when you're a DM. Like when I do my my other campaigns, I have a friend who is a former DM who I bounce stuff off of, right? And it's great to have that person resonate and then bounce ideas back to you from your ideas. And then, you know, it gives you something to see if the idea is a good idea or maybe it's not so good of an idea. And when, like you said, when we get two DM heads together, two GM heads together, that is great that you can really come up with some cool stuff. And yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice for DMs, for new DMs. Find another person you can bounce ideas off of.
Yeah, and I think one of the key things what's great with us is we both have good ideas, but when you put them together, there's like a better idea comes along and grows out of it. There's been a couple of times when we've written the first module, we're already on the second and third modules now. You know, I'll kick out an idea, you'll kick out a counter idea, and then the idea that kind of blossoms out of that is just something better than I think we both could have thought of. You know, and there was even one in the first module where we did one minor change, which has like completely changed the whole way you'll perceive what's actually happening in this module. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. And
yeah, I'm with you on that you do need a sounding board. My DM/module writing skills have improved immensely through this process. And yeah, I think everyone does need a sounding board. I think that's before you start your campaign, have someone exterior to the campaign, or you can also consult your players as well for some ideas, and then at least you can then work on what they've been talking about and cook up something new and something strange and offbeat, and you know, that uniqueness. Especially with the first module, you know, we've got that feel of something foreign. I think that's key. It doesn't feel like something anybody would have experienced before. And I think that's one of the things that's going to set it apart, is that it has that sort of foreign kind of feel to you. You're in a foreign land experiencing foreign things. So people will have known, like, you know, this is fantasy and, you know, swords and sorcery and so on and so forth. I mean, that kind of stuff is in it, obviously. But it's got that kind of, this is a little bit off. There's something really strange in here that I think people are really going to enjoy.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, you know, there's kind of the standard fantasy where you, you know, you can just step right into it, and it's just that generic fantasy that everybody pretty much runs, right? But it's interesting with our module in particular that when you step into this world, you're going to notice the change. You're going to notice the differences. We've written that into this. You're going to notice the differences from the generic kind of cookie cutter world to the world that we've created, which is really, I think, interesting and unique, and going to keep the characters interested because this is a good DM point. You know, when you're role playing, you want to keep the characters interested in the NPCs, and when they're learning new things, particularly about the society, they're gonna get invested in this campaign.
And I think that's key. You need a thing that people don't come into this, especially if they're players who've played for a while, they're existing players, etc. They kind of know what the world's about before they even walk into it. I mean, yes, they should have some grounding. Obviously, they're characters in the world, so they should have some knowledge of it. But you know, this idea of going to a foreign land is a good one because you know, even if they are experienced players, they haven't experienced this particular world, this particular land that you're going into. And that helps even veteran players who are expecting certain things will not be, oh, well, I knew this was coming. They'll get something new and fresh. And I think that's what's really key with what we've got here in Death and Taxes.
Oh, definitely. And, you know, like for you people who have been to another place, like another country, some years ago I went to England, and you think, oh, it's pretty much going to be exactly the same, right? Because we speak English, right? Well, there are so many little things that are different that you notice, you know, I'm an American, so you notice as an American that are different that you didn't expect. And to bring that kind of stuff into your campaign really can get your characters invested in that campaign and feel like they're part of that world, because that's what sets a RPG apart from just a board game. You're not moving little pieces around a board and, you know, that's it. You know, there's not much investment in that, but there's a lot of investment when you can interact with the world, feel like your character is interacting with it, and feel like your character is a part of it as well as changing that world. So, yeah, I think that's really cool, and I think those people who have been to another place have seen this for themselves, you know, that when you go to another place, there are those little things that you may think might be the same, but they're different.
My example is sort of similar, but I mean, I've lived in different countries. So even though in South Africa and Australia, we drive on the same side of the road and we have the same language and we have all the American McDonald's and that kind of thing, you know, there are key aspects to the society. The food we eat is different. You know, the jokes we tell are different. There are other languages. So, you know, there are other cultures. So for instance, even though I'm from Africa, you know, Africa has a rich cultural heritage. Australia has a rich Aboriginal heritage, which is very different from an African heritage. So, you know, experiencing these different cultures, and I've been to Japan and I absolutely love Japan. If you're a nerd and you haven't been to Japan, you better hop on a plane immediately. That society is very, very different. It's the most alien thing I've ever experienced. And yet, you know, they've got the same things. They've got restaurants and they've got, you know, cars in the street, and it's not like that's what's different. But the key thing is the cultural difference. It's something that's extremely tangible, and you notice it immediately when you step off the boat or get off the plane. And I think that's what we've tried to get into Death and Taxes. And what do you think we've achieved that?
I do. It really stands out to me in the module. Like that really popped off the page to me in the module. And I think it's really missing from a lot of games. Like when you do that generic fantasy, you lose a little bit of that wonder because it's not different from what you're used to. It's kind of the same old cookie cutter thing. So capturing that in a module can be difficult, I understand. but I think we have done it, and I think it really pops off the page, and I'm really proud of this module in particular in this campaign for doing that.
And sometimes just a simple idea can change things like the laws of the land. How does taxation work? You know, we actually have a document on how the society works, which kind of will help us as we go through the future modules, which there'll be 12 of in the entire campaign. So as each one comes out each month, you will then, you know, the society will build in your games, and you as the DM will begin to know more about the society, and that's in terms of our module. In your own module, if you've got a document on, you know, how these things work, how the currencies may be different, you know, sort of how does marriage work, you know, that may be completely different in your society. You know, who owns what? What's the hierarchy? You know, are there a religious order on top? Is that, you know, a dynasty? You know, what kind of society are you actually putting into this campaign? And that, I think, is one of the key things that what we did, because it was very quick for us to actually write the entire campaign. I mean, we literally did that, what, in about an hour?
Yes, we did. It was really quick once we got the gears going, and it's just filling the meat on those bones. You know, we got the bones of the campaign. Now it was just getting the meat on the bones. So
yeah, so that skeletal structure was important to know where we're going with the entire campaign, because, you know, there will be 12 of them. But as you say, we're putting the meat onto the bones. So now it's like, you know, that's just what's kind of like the thread through the story. But what we're really doing now is world building, you know, and that's for each one. We've got this cultural document that basically sort of lays out how the culture works, and then we're throwing the story at it and we'll see how it reacts.
And, you know, another cool thing, you know, when you buy a module, generally it's just it's thrown at you, and then that's it. You know, you do with it as you will. But we're actually having a mailing list, and we're gonna have a mailing list that we're gonna send out extra stuff for the module. So you're gonna get, like, you know, Gareth was talking about the Bible for, you know, how the game, you know, the rules of the land and that kind of thing. So we're gonna send you these extra tidbits of cool information that you can mine for your game, you know, in this mailing list. So make sure you guys sign up for the mailing list.
And another key thing, you know, part of what we want to do with this channel, you know, this is obviously a new venture for us, but we don't want to just give you a module and here's the stats of the monsters and create a few new monsters. We actually want you to modify it, because we as DMs, if we get a module, first thing we do is change it. And we fully expect you to do that. You know, we have that in mind. You know, we're going to throw out all kinds of information at you, and this is what the world is like, and here are all the various different options and that kind of thing. And it's, for us, it's like, okay, well, here is the module, and here is a whole bunch of things you can change. And we encourage you as a community to actually change and put the comments in the comment section and on social media, and tell us, how did you actually change it? What would you modify in the module? And that's, you know, when we seek reviews from other YouTubers and blogs and things, we actually want to know, how would you run it? How would you make changes? What would you do to add to this? What would you take away? All these kind of elements. I think that's Quest Givers is really, you know, we just give you the kernel of what it is, and then you grow it from that. So this is just the seed that we drop in, and you know, that's what we want to do. So we're not going to be throwing monster stats at you, and this is the kind of monster that it is, and we'll give it a name, you know, but you know, it's up to you to figure out how that's going to work in your game, because this module is not just for D&D or Dungeon Crawl Classics or Pathfinder or whatever. It's for every fantasy game or every system that there may be. You can play this module in that, because you can create all the stats and everything yourself, which is the fun part of being a DM as far as I'm concerned. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, I agreed. You know, it's like Gareth says, this module is not sacrosanct. You know, we want you to hack it, we want you to modify it, and we want you to tell us what, like you said, we want you to tell us what you did to it. You know, so yeah, that's what's so great. And you know, like Gareth said, with the monsters, you know, stats are so easy. You don't need to, you know, it's so easy to plug a stat in. And if you make a module for one game, then it kind of feels like it's stuck for that game. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you have to play it with 5e or you have to play it with Pathfinder. And that's not how we want the module to feel. And a module shouldn't feel that way. It should feel that you could play it with any system that you prefer, that any system you like, you know, from Dungeon World as light as you want to go to, you know, Pathfinder with more, you know, with more rules and everything. So yeah, so we tried to stay away from the monster stats, like you said, because we want to make it more, you know, open for everyone to play it and not get kind of pigeonholed into one game. And I think sometimes when people build modules, they build them around monster encounters, which is the least exciting way to play a module. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, oh, you're going to fight 5 goblins here, and then, blah, 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 and then fight this, and then fight that, and then you're done with the dungeon. That is boring. That's not what excites me about a module. What excites me is like, what's the history? What's going on? What's the background? All this kind of thing. We tried to keep it that way, and I hope you guys appreciate it. And we also want to see what you do with it, because I always hack a module. I never run anything directly out of the book. And like he said, we definitely expect you to do that, and we want to see what you did. We want to see the results.
Yeah, for us, I mean, it's quest givers. We want to give this to you to then make your quest with it. It's all about hacking. It's all about changing. It's all about, you know, as we said in the beginning, I come up with an idea, Scotty comes up with an idea, and we put them together and it creates a whole new idea. Then we twist it and change it, and a whole new thing comes out of it that that it totally changes. But you know, that skeleton of the story is still there, and it's as you say, it's not built around a monster. It's not built around the culture. There are things happening within the culture, that the culture will exist before and after what happens in the module, but you get a sense that this foreign land exists, and that, you know, all these cool things could actually happen in this. And I think we've thrown in all kinds of cool stuff, and the artwork and Scotty's terrain images, they're just fantastic, and it's all designed to you know, bubble up these ideas, so that's giving you a platform to launch off and go, wow, wouldn't it be cool if, you know, that's what we want. Wouldn't it be cool if, wouldn't it be great if we put in this, and wouldn't it be great if I now threw in this monster from the monster manual, or whatever, bestiary, whatever you're using. That's what we're about. So
like the society, you know, we're trying to hook the players into the society, into what's going on. And that's, you know, when you're starting a campaign, that's what you want to do. You want to get them hooked into the world, into the game. And, you know, as a new campaign, or new players, or even old players, you want to get them into the society, because then they don't care. You know, you don't want murder hobos, right? For most players don't want murder hobos. They want people that are interested in the game and like adding to the game and changing the world and making it interesting, as opposed to just going around killing everything. And that's not what this module is. You know, the module is not that, and most people, you know, don't want that kind of module. They want something that, you know, it's an RPG. You want to get the players hooked into the game and have fun with it. And yeah, so if you're just playing that way, there's nothing wrong with playing that way. That's fine. But that's not the kind of thing you want to do, that we want to do, that we wanted to put out there. And we hope you guys really enjoy, you know, the start of this campaign, because I think it's really fantastic, and it will hook your players. I think it'll really hook your players.
Well, that was really the brief when we wrote this module, was it must just drip with hooks, you know. Interesting, like there's everything, everywhere you go, there's something interesting happening. When you talk to the players, they're like dropping all kinds of information that relates not just to this module, but sometimes 10, 12 modules ahead. You know, there's little things in there that are hooks to what's going to happen much further down the line. You know, there might be you're reading a book and there might be a little excerpt about a monster that lives in the mountains or something. That gives you an idea of what something that might come along, and that's key and important when you're devising your world and you're doing your world building to build your campaign. Think ahead, and drop this information, because when the players are in there, they want to go, ooh, that would be interesting. That sounds like something that's cool. And they don't see it straight away. They may see it 4, 5, 6 sessions down the road. And that hook, that thing that's reeling them in, is very important to maintaining your campaign and keeping your sessions going. So it needs to be in every single module. Is like the things that you're kind of setting up what's going to be happening in the future. So tell us, how would you actually start your campaign? How do you get into your world building? What are the processes that you do, so that everyone in the community can learn from that in the comment section below. We are Quest Givers. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you in the next video.